Blessed day, guys, and peace be upon you this morning. So in this video we're going to start on Cisco adaptive security appliance firewall configuration, and we're going to do firewall basic configuration. So I'll just open our notepad, our Google spreadsheet, and let you know that today we're in our firewall technologies, and we're going to do basic firewall configuration, which comprises of interface security level setup. Okay. Alright, so without any further ado, I'll open our notepad and highlight the steps to follow to achieve the objective. So the first step is always to draw the necessary topology, decorate and comment. So I'll explain the topology that I drew. Okay? Alright, so as you can see, we have the firewall at the center. And I want to connect how many LANs? I want to connect 3 LANs. So each LAN as a name. For example, this is inside network, this is outside network, this is a DMZ. So the inside network is where we are hosted, okay, where our users are, our end devices. In the DMZ is where we store our servers. In the outside network, maybe where our clients are outside the network, okay, we're far away. Let's say that where our clients are, or strange people, or people that we don't know, right? Okay, so in the inside network, basically it's normally trusted. Under firewall configuration, we include inside network as trusted. We don't trust anything coming from outside, okay? So it remains untrusted. We partially trust something from the DMZ. Okay, so we have to implement firewall policies, and before you implement firewall policies, it's very important to learn how the basic configuration of the firewall. So before we can begin the basic configuration, I just want to let you know that here is the inside network with this network, outside the network with this network. DMZ or server farm is where we store our servers in this network, and then it's very important to choose the right firewall for this setup. So basically in this setup, or in this series of training, we are going to use 5506-X adaptive security appliance Cisco firewall. Alright, choose 5506. There are 2 firewalls here. They are 5505 and 5506. So ensure you choose 5506 for this lab, right? Okay, so let's just complete the lab by connecting. So I connect from the switch to the firewall. I connect from the switch to the firewall. All right, so we've done the connection. As you can see, we've connected our inside to the firewall, and the DMZ to the firewall, and finally outside to the firewall. So any traffic from any LAN to another, from one LAN to another, will pass through the firewall, and all the policies that we will configure in the near future will be applied here. Okay. All right. So I'll go back to our notepad again, and step 2 says that we configure hostname, enable password, username and password, and clock and date. So guys, basically when I click on the 5506-X firewall, then I come to configure CLL. You can see the default username is always Cisco ASA adaptive security appliance. Okay. Alright, so just enable, and when you enable, you will encounter password. This password is normally blank by default, so just hit enter. Exit, enable. This password is normally blank by default, just hit enter, then config T. Alright, so the first thing is to configure the firewall with the hostname. So we just say hostname, let's say perimeter firewall. Okay, then hit enter. So you can see the hostname has been changed to perimeter firewall. So the second thing that you configure there is enable password to protect the privilege exec mode. Remember, like I said, that this password, this is a password that protects the privilege exec mode, and it was blank. So let's configure another password to protect that mode. So it's just normal way that we normally configure enable password. So you just say enable password, then you write your password. Let's say Gurutech 123 and you hit enter, right? Okay, so when you go back here, you can see we have to configure hostname and password, then clock and date, right? Okay, so how do we configure hostname? Very simple. The way we normally do it, just say hostname, let's say Gurutech. Okay, then password to be Gurutech 123 and hit enter. Then finally clock and date. So just say clock set. Then let's query. Okay, so here we can put hours, minutes, and seconds. So we just say it's 17:51 with some seconds. Let's just say 30 seconds. Okay, then today is 20th July 2023. So we've done clock and the date, so we just hit enter. Good. All right, so another thing that we are here to configure is the interfaces. Well, the basic to configuring policies is the interfaces. You have to configure interfaces, you have to configure IP addresses, the names, and the security levels. If you don't do this one, then you will not be able to configure policies. So before we do any policies in the firewall, we need to configure IP addresses to the interfaces and then name them and give them security levels. Okay, all right, so I'll explain as we progresses. All right, so let's do the interfaces. So for example, this one is gig. You can see it's a gig 1/1. Okay, gig 1/1. So we just enter here, we just enter interface gig 1/1. Okay, then the first thing that we do, you can see it's in shutdown state. Let's just turn it up. No shut. Oops, I wrote the wrong one. I want gig 1/1. No shut. Yes, so this gig 1/1. Let me confirm again. Yes, gig 1/1. So after doing this, what we do, we assign it IP address. So you can see on this side the IP address is the network is this one. Okay, so it say IP add to be 192.168.100.1. let it take the first IP address. Okay, then subnet mask code 255.255.255.0 and we hit enter. Then after assigning IP address, you have to give the interface name. When we are configuring policies, we refer to the interface using its name. So it's very, very important that you configure the names to each and every firewall interface. Okay, so just say name, then you just hit on tab, you say name if, then you give it name. We normally give them name in terms of inside, outside, and DMZ. You can see this is connecting to the inside, so we just say inside caps. Okay, and you hit enter. So you can see security level for inside set to 0 by default. Okay, so the second thing that we do is do what is called security level. So well, in firewall configuration, there's something that's called security levels based on trust. Okay, so a source or a point or a network that we trust, we give it 100% security level. The one that we don't trust, we give it 0. The one that we partially trust, we can give it something 70, 50, etc. Okay, all right, so we just say security level to be 100 because this is inside network. All right, okay, then we hit enter, exit. Then you go to gig 1 or 2, gig 1/2. So just say interface gig 1/2, okay, 1/2, then no shut in case it's down, okay. Then you assign it IP address. IP address you can see here is this IP address here, okay. So IP add to be 10.10.10.1/28. So /28 basically is normally 255.255.255.240, okay. All right, and you just hit enter. Then what do? We name it, because we'll be referring to this interface through the use of its name, okay. Just say name if to be DMZ. This is a DMZ, okay, interface. You can see it's connecting to the DMZ network, DMZ LAN, okay. So it's the DMZ. Name if DMZ. So whenever you configure an interface with a name, its security level is set to 0 by default. So because we partially trust DMZ, let's give it a security level of 70 or 50, okay. So just a security level to be 70, no problem, okay. All right, then you exit. All right, finally we configure this interface, which is gig 1/3. So we just go there, gig 1/3, then no shut, okay. So after no shut, IP add, I can see it's 20.20.20.1, okay, 255.255.255.0. Then we give it a name. It's outside. Then security level to be 0, because we don't trust it. Untrusted source has a security level of 0, the lowest priority, okay. Hit enter, exit. All right, so when you go back here, you can see number 4 is to save and display config. Well, in firewall it's different on how we do it on a router or a switch. How do we save in a firewall? It's very simple. Just say write memory, and you hit enter. Write memory, just say write memory, just like this, and you hit enter. You can see, or WRMEM, write memory or WRM, okay. It doesn't matter where you do it, whether you do it in global configuration mode or privilege exec mode, it will work, okay. All right, so in the normal devices, for example routers, we normally say do write, okay, and we hit enter. But in firewall, you don't need to say do, just say write mem, okay, and you hit enter. Then how do you display the configuration? It's very simple. You don't use do in firewall, just say show start, and you hit enter. Without do, whether you're in global configuration mode or privilege exec mode, it will work. So you can see the host name is perimeter firewall. Enable password, you can see it's encrypted by default, okay. All right, so the interfaces, you can see the gigs one, this one, the name is inside, security level is this one, and the IP address, okay. The same applies to the other two interfaces, okay. All right, so guys, basically that's all about this simple video. So we will be using this this topology to configure the following classes. So for the two classes, I'll mark them as done, okay. So we'll be using the same topology to configure DHCP, routing protocols, etc, okay, until we come to the end of firewall configuration. So please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share with friends, and let's see you again in the next video. Bye.